Wiriyamu is, I believe, the most terrible of all recorded atrocities in modern colonial history. If true, it absolutely demonstrates the utter inhumanity and incompetence to govern of those responsible for it. There cannot be two opinions about that. Indeed, the whole reaction of a Portuguese government of instant denial, abuse, and the refusal of a public investigation shows immensely clearly how blind it is even to the seriousness of such charges. It is stated that over 400 people were murdered. The majority were shot one by one. Some were pushed into huts. The huts were then set on fire or grenades thrown into them. Many of the children were kicked to death, their heads used as footballs. Some were hacked to death. The document that we published includes 130 names, of which 67 are of children.
está seguro. Olha lá. Olha lá.
In fact, the report which was published was a very precise document produced by somebody based upon the accounts of eyewitnesses, and it was written in Tete within 3 weeks of the massacre of Wiriyamu.
But you see, here, Father Hastings, you say written by somebody. Now, who is this somebody?
Somebody who is in Mozambique and would be in very great danger indeed if we said who it was.
But can't you name this somebody?
No,
because it's
we
going
cannot.
to clear a lot of the misunderstanding,
No.
misapprehension.
2 priests have been in solitary confinement for 18 months in a Portuguese prison for having mentioned earlier massacres, and we cannot take the responsibility for saying who wrote this.
Is this why the Roman Catholic Bishop of Tete, Monsignor Augusto, has not confirmed your allegations?
The Bishop of Tete knows exactly that this massacre took place without any doubt at all, and he cannot deny it.
Well, why will he not come out and confirm it?
In due course, he will doubtless come out and confirm it.
But you see, Father Hastings, with respect, there is no evidence, and all your information...
There is a great deal of evidence. The report is evidence, and we have a great deal of other evidence.
Yes, but your evidence has all come to us second-hand. And
of course, I wasn't there. If anybody is not at an incident himself, the report is second-hand as far as he is concerned.
Now, isn't your case further weakened by the fact that the Portuguese army are now going to take newspapermen, journalists, to the spot of the alleged massacre, where they will be able to talk to the villagers?
They are taking them to other spots. Moreover, do you really think that with the Portuguese army standing there and Portuguese government interpreters to explain that the survivors of a group of people who have been massacred, whose relatives have been massacred by the army, are going to explain to some journalists who will fly off the next day to London what happened?
So you think this is a worthless exercise?
In that form, quite worthless, yes.
In the first phase, we come here and we stop. We move all this population
yes.
after FRELIMO begins to act here.
They had been acting here.
Yes, and they killed the regidor here.
The regidor?
Rego.
Rego.
This is a white man, wise man.
Yes.
And kill and cut his head off and show all over the population. All these men are afraid there in this time. And after this, they killed 1 or 2 more people.
Yeah.
And the commander decided to move.
Move everybody from here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Minister, why are you so sure that this massacre did not happen?
Well, first of all, shall I emphasize a very important point. As Prime Minister Dr. Tete stated today, as soon as these rumors have occurred, instructions were given to the Governor General of Mozambique to investigate and collect any detail which could be useful for the government to assess the exact situation. And on those basis, we couldn't find any indication that such things could have happened.
Why do you think priests should be anything but truthful about the situation in Mozambique?
Well, may I answer you telling you a different story? You've known about it. It's most regrettable that members of the church have any other concern than the truth. I regret it infinitely. But why do not the same priests and the order to which they belong protest against massacres in Burundi? Why have the White Fathers and the same Spanish priests been in Mozambique for so long, and they never claimed against any excess? They never made any critique against the Portuguese authorities. They never object against any conditions on the territory. Why? Well, maybe that the explanation is that the Spanish priests have thought that they should show their solidarity with the FRELIMO. And this is obviously a political implication.
Perhaps they're frightened of what you might do to them.
No, because they feel they should have good relations with FRELIMO.
Minister, there have been reports, not just of this alleged massacre at Wiriyamu, but reports of killings by Portuguese soldiers over the last few years. Do you think any of these have happened?
As I told you, any charge of killings by the troops and in this kind of warfare, nobody could guarantee that at any time civilians are not killed. But what I can guarantee you, what I can assure you, as the Prime Minister stated also today, is that if any information reaches the Portuguese authority at any level, immediately inquiries are made and the people responsible for such things are immediately punished. This I can guarantee you. And I wonder if this is the procedure which is followed in any country. In my country it is. So.
In this country, frequently, if there's an inquiry into a massacre of this kind, or into an atrocity of this kind, it is done by an independent, non-military, judicial inquiry. Why do you expect people outside Portugal to be convinced by a military inquiry by your own forces?
Well, I didn't tell you that it is an inquiry by military inquiry, but our intention is not to convince the people outside Portugal. Our intention is to convince ourselves about the truth.
But will it be a military inquiry?
No, the Governor General may use any means to inquire, both by military ways and by using civil servants.
Will you
also
be directing him to use the judiciary rather than the military?
Well, this is a question which the Governor is dealing now at his level, and will certainly have the opportunity to use also civil servants. But I repeat to you, our intention is to obtain the truth, and we are mostly concerned about the truth for ourselves. Our intention is not to explain to the external public opinion, because we don't think it's tolerable to any country to accept such interference in their own internal affairs.
Yes, a little bit, isn't it?
Yes, I can speak about the last massacres of Mukumbura. In Mukumbura were there four massacres. The three first have seen were witnessed. The two fathers are in the prison in Lorenzo Marques. The three first. And the last one I saw in March and April 72, last year.
What did you see? How did you know that these people
These
were
massacres were the smaller massacres, because only the Portuguese troop killed six people only. I saw one man, one anciano, mayor.
Yes, an old man.
An old man who were dead by hitting. By
being hit, yes.
By being hitting by the police and by the troops. At first, I saw him alive, and after a few hours, I saw him dead. Another cases, I saw two old men more dead, and a few days after, I saw one woman and one man dead by the troops, by shot.
Why would the troops want to kill these people? What had they done?
I think because the Mukumbura area is a very important area to the FRELIMO, and the people, many people of that area were in the FRELIMO area, and the troops and the government, the Portuguese government, wanted to bring that people nearer from the troops, from the Portuguese troops.
So these people weren't killed because they were members of FRELIMO, but just because they wanted to stay where they had always lived?
Yes, no, because they are members of FRELIMO, because they aren't members of the FRELIMO. They are people, but they are living in that area. And the Portuguese troop think that these people helped to the FRELIMO.
What did you do when you'd seen these massacres?
I wrote some report to my bishop, and the bishop, I think that he sent to the government and to everybody to know it.
And did you have any reply? Was anything done about it?
I don't think.
Now, the Portuguese government has been saying that whenever they have received reports of massacres, that they always investigate them carefully. Have you ever seen Portuguese administrators or talked to them when they have been investigating any of the things that you have alleged have happened?
I never saw this investigation of the Portuguese troops.
And you've never heard, none of your colleagues?
Never.
Saw them?
Supposing one day the majority of the people in one of your African territories like Mozambique asks for independence, do you give it to them?
Well, Portugal has given independence to Brazil in the 19th century. Portugal is developing the progress of all their African territories so as to promote an increasing political participation of all the population. And it has been always our policy to rely on the will of the populations. But we cannot accept that the will of the populations will be determined by an external pressure and by terrorist activities.
You haven't, with respect, answered the question. Supposing the majority of the people in Mozambique one day say to you, we want to be free of Portugal and govern ourselves as a sovereign state, will you let them?
I answer your question. I said if the majority of the population didn't want us now, we could not be there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.